10,000 subs. It's been a journey. Back in November of 2010, I was an excited 14-year-old uploading the first few parts of their Super Mario Sunshine Let's Play, after being inspired by how much I enjoyed watching Nintendo Capri Sun. The commentary was so bad, the audio was not synced up at all, and I was just a dumb kid trying to emulate the Let's Players I looked up to. You know, I had grand dreams of how I would become a popular Let's Player and be able to collaborate with all the cool Let's Players. And it was a silly dream, but at that age, who doesn't have those? Years passed, and I understandably failed to amass any kind of following. The LP scene was already an overflowing niche, and I was a teenager who was still developing both mentally and emotionally. And YouTube is not great about getting viewership on smaller channels. But I kept at it. And honestly, I got pretty bitter about my growth over the years. It was something I'd put so much work into, and grown into a content creator I was genuinely proud of. But none of it really seemed to matter. Until one day, in August of 2017, when I saw an acquaintance of mine playing a little game called Hollow Knight. It took me only about 10 minutes to realize that this was a game I wanted to play on my channel blind, so I bought it and did my own series. And it changed the course of my channel forever. Not because the actual series had gotten any recognition at the time, but because I loved Hollow Knight so much that I wanted to do more with it. I wasn't done with it just after the playthrough. I had more to say about Team Cherry and about Hallownest. Now, I wasn't a stranger to video essays. I'd done a few here and there of varying quality, but Let's Plays were my wheelhouse. But for Hollow Knight, I really wanted to do more. I spent the better part of a year practicing and analyzing every single boss in the game, writing and editing a 30-page script that turned into a 90-minute video, the Hollow Knight boss ranking and analysis. And that is the most proud I have ever been of a video that I've made. And somebody actually noticed. Mossbag, who is one of, and for good reason, most well-known Hollow Knight content creators of all time. He found the video, and he liked it enough to signal boost it on Twitter. I got flooded with positive reception. People coming to the channel and asking how the heck someone who had produced a video of that quality had fewer than 500 subscribers. I was on cloud 9. All of the skills that I had honed over the past 7 years were coming together and finally paying off. And then I did it again. Just a few months later, I released the Hollow Knight Iceberg video that quickly became the most successful video I had uploaded on the channel. It got over 100,000 views in under a month. And I hit 1,000 subscribers, a number I had given up on many years ago. And I just kept getting positive reinforcement to make more Hollow Knight content. People were loving those videos. I chose to move away from Let's Plays, maintaining that style of video for streams, but I tried to focus more on those video essays and compilations for the main channel. But there was one issue. The community that I had sort of built up, it was primarily geared towards interest in Hollow Knight. That makes complete sense, obviously. The videos that were pushing my channel forward were Hollow Knight focused, and that's what I just became known for. But it meant that anything else that I tried to put out just didn't do very well, and it ended up hurting my growth. I had to make a choice. I could continue down the path of making content for a variety of different games that I enjoyed and kneecap my own success, or I could focus entirely on Hollow Knight videos and hopefully maintain my rapid growth. Thing is, though, I said most of what I had to say about Hollow Knight. Squeezing the game dry for videos just for, more money and attention was not something that I felt comfortable doing. YouTube is not my job, it is a hobby, and I'd be sucking the joy out of a game that I loved. And frankly, the content would have suffered too, so nobody would have been a winner. So here I am, despite everything, 12 years later, hitting 10,000 subscribers. I've accepted my niche, and I think it's more valuable for me to create things that I care about and am proud of, rather than pursue more money or more growth. I just think it's valuable for me to create things that I'm going to be proud of, because that's going to be what you enjoy most of all, I hope. But that being said, I am grateful to every single one of you today, just to help me come this far. And this has really genuinely just been such a big part of my life. And it's just cool to see. It's cool to see 12 years later. To celebrate, to thank you all, I'm going to be doing a small giveaway. 10 random commenters are going to be getting $10 of Steam credit. All you got to do is write down a game that you've seen me cover in my time on YouTube or Twitch that you are interested in and you would like to play. And hey, I can give you some recommendations too. I have played a ton of games on these channels over the past 12 years, and a lot of them are really quite good. So let's end this off with a quick and scuffed top 10 list of games that I've played on the channel. Thank you all, once again, for everything. Goodbye. Number 10. Garden Warfare 1 and 2. Sure, this is technically 2 games, but they're very similar. Plants vs. Zombies has always been a really important game to me, and while I'm not into shooters, Garden Warfare manages to be the exception. The unique visuals and wacky abilities, alongside the asymmetric team composition, made these games a really important part of my history with PvZ. While unfortunately the servers for these games are rather underpopulated these days, there's still some fun to be had. In fact, Garden Warfare 2 was released on Steam only recently, so there's been a nice influx of players on those servers. Few games scratch the nostalgia itch for me like these do, as I have a ton of great memories messing around with friends in these games, and they honestly still hold up quite well, even as the Plants vs. Zombies property has fallen into a troubling course since then. I'd say pick it up if it's on sale. A good lobby can be a lot of fun if you find one. Number 9. Endless Ocean Blue World. This is definitely one of the strangest picks on the list, and unfortunately it isn't available to play on Steam, but you know, there's probably other ways to play Wii games, right? Probably. None that I would know of, certainly. Either way, Endless Ocean Blue World has always been such an important game to me, that it's kind of my happy place. This is a game that I've been wanting to show viewers since the day I started my YouTube journey, but unfortunately my series got cut short due to capture card issues and me leaving for college, so I never did get to finish the game on the channel. But it really is worth playing. The game is super relaxing and pretty despite being Wii era, and even has an upscaled graphics mod. On top of that, it unexpectedly manages to be a really good game. The plot is actually fairly interesting, and all the different locales and areas that you explore have a great mix of interesting sights and moments of tension. And there's just so much to do. Like, this game is seriously long if you want 100% it. Between the immense number of collectibles, fun side quests, and worthwhile post-game, you really can get so much out of this game if you get interested. And on top of all that, it actually manages to be kind of educational without being overbearing. If you're looking for some high-octane action or precise mechanical challenges, pass this one by, but we all need to unwind every once in a while, and Blue World is a really valuable escape. Number 8. Bugsnax. This was a game I could just tell had something going on underneath its sickeningly sweet exterior, and being right has never felt so good. Frankly, Bugsnax could have just been a chill and funny game about eating creatures that are kinda bug and kinda snack, and I still would have been happy with it. The world style looks nice, the Bugsnax are all hilarious little guys, and the main gameplay loop of figuring out how to catch them all works really well. But Bugsnax is so much more than that. It's a game that sneakily focuses on developing its message and characters, and you suddenly realize how real things have become. The Grumpuses ironically feel more human than the casts of tons of other games, each of them going through genuinely relatable struggles that we've all experienced in some form or another. I just can't help but root for the Blue Muppet with a deep-seated inferiority complex, even if his name is Filbo Fiddlepie. By some miracle of developer vision, Bugsnax manages to tiptoe a thin line between a constantly cheery and colorful playground and gracefully tackling some serious mental health issues, and I love it. Number 7. 100% Orange Juice. I love me some party games, and the genre certainly has some titans. From cult classics like Kirby Air Ride and Dokapon Kingdom to social media behemoths like Mario Party and Jackbox, there's a lot of them to go around. But without question, 100% Orange Juice has to be my favorite of the bunch. This is such a weird game, and I get why it's not more popular. If the anime style or copious amount of DLC doesn't deter you, the poorly explained mechanics probably will. Not to mention its mashup of characters is from even more niche games that you almost certainly have never heard of, so it's not like the cast has any star power. Also, it's called 100% orange juice, which doesn't exactly explain much without context. But I'm telling you, this is some of the best board game fun out there. If you think Mario Party ends friendships, you ain't seen nothing yet. OJ revolves around the primary goal of getting around a board, gathering resources, and defeating enemies to reach your home and level up before everyone else. There's a deck building aspect and PvP and all sorts of mechanics in this weird mishmash of a game, but at its core, it's a beautifully simple experience about breaking trust and looking out for number one at the expense of everyone else. More than anything though, this game's dev support is really what pushes it over the edge. This game has been out for 9 years and is constantly getting updates with balance patches, new characters, new modes, and events. The game is so obviously a labor of love, and it shows. Don't worry about the DLC. The base game is quite cheap and has an immense amount of replayability. If you enjoy it enough after dipping your toes in, get some bonus characters. If not, it's still one of the most cutthroat party games out there, and that's worth applauding. Number 6. Stardew Valley. Stardew was not on my radar when it released. Honestly, I'd never really played a Harvest Moon game or any farming or life sim besides a Harvest Moon app for my graphing calculator in high school. The mod seemed interesting though, so I dipped my toes in, and I was consumed. For several weeks in college, it was the only thing I ever wanted to do in my free time. Because, life can be tough sometimes, and I don't think it's any coincidence that a lot of my favorite games are escape fantasies. And Stardew does it, for me at least, better than anything else. The relaxed environment, chill music, and nostalgic art style gave me something that just made me happy. In fact, it's the only game I've created my own mods for. That's how much I enjoy spending time in the valley. And then, they released multiplayer. That was a game changer for me. It's tough to go back to single player now, just because of how much fun this game is with friends. It brings out the competitive side in me, and gets me really excited to be as efficient as possible. And I just love that Stardew can do that, both be a low-key, relaxing environment with no expectations, as well as a strategic exercise in planning optimized routes, and neither side of the coin interferes at all with the other. It just makes me happy. Number 5. Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, and Bug Fables. I know this is 2 games again, but I promise this is the last time it'll happen. The thing is, these 2 games offer a very similar experience, just with slightly different strengths. That being said, Bug Fables is more accessible right now on Steam and consoles, so if you want to play one, that's probably easier without, certain programs. Regardless, both of these games are action RPGs. Basic, low-value, turn-based combat where timed button presses allow you to do more damage or reduce incoming hits. Both games have fantastic plots, characters, and mechanics, and it's hard to say that one is better than the other. The Thousand Year Door is almost certainly more polished of the 2 games. It looks cleaner, it's more balanced, it has fewer bugs, pun intended, and it is just a really solid experience. Bug Fables, on the other hand, sacrifices some of that polish to take a step forward and take risks that TDYD didn't, acting as a spiritual successor. It features a more well-rounded party, much more difficult battles, and a more interesting and complex battle system to make that manageable. Unfortunately, the battle system, and specifically the medals, make the game's difficulty curve kind of wonky. Once you gain access to specific item loadouts, the game just becomes kind of easy unless you choose to ignore them. Even still, it manages to feel like an expansion of the Paper Mario series. If you already like either of these games, you absolutely need to try the other. And if you haven't played either but enjoy an RPG every now and again, definitely give at least one of these a try. Number 4. Return of the Obra Dinn. There is so little I can say about this game without ruining the experience, because this is something you should go play without prior knowledge. Obra Dinn is, reductively, a puzzle game, but that description does not do it justice. In a nutshell, a ship coasts into port and curiously has no people on it. As an insurance investigator, you board the vessel trying to figure out what happened with only 2 tools: a notebook with information on the ship's crew and passengers, and a magic pocket watch that allows you to view the final moments of any corpse or remains you find on the boat. Sure, at the beginning you might get some gimme moments like, "Oh no, it is I, Captain Jeremy Falls, and I have been impaled by a dagger." But the deeper into the mystery you get, the more strange each occurrence of death becomes, and you'll need to start analyzing every piece of information you have to unravel what transpired on this ship. The art style on display is extremely unique and works really well for the game's vibe, as things start to get really freaky. I can't get into it more, but suffice to say, the story went in a way I really did not anticipate. And I think there's a lot to unpack here with these characters and their psychology, even when we only get just a tiny window into their lives. This is one of those video games or art games, and it is unforgettable. Number 3, Hypnospace Outlaw. I only finished this game a little while back, so recency bias might be playing a part in this ranking. But given how I feel about Return of the Obra Dinn years after playing it, I don't think this is a fluke. Much like Obra Dinn, Hypnospace Outlaw can kind of be called a puzzle game, but it's much more than that. The game puts you in the place of a Hypno-S enforcer, acting as a moderator for a dream-based internet service in the 90s. And when I say in the 90s, I mean in the 90s. The nostalgia here is fine-tuned to an art. I have had visceral reactions to so much of this game's content, as it perfectly encapsulates the vibe of the era. In fact, I've watched this game manufacture artificial nostalgia for the aesthetic in people who do not even remember the period, which is impressive. As you scour the dream space for illegal activity and wrongdoers, you'll find a bunch of different communities, each with their own members, drama, and stories to watch unfold. Yet despite never directly interacting with these characters and only watching their reactions to each other, current events, and your moderation, you will become so invested in their lives. The world is massive, and there are so many different ways to progress the plot, so while this is, at its core, a linear story, every person's playthrough will feel unique, and you'll discover things that someone else entirely passed over. There's just so much freedom in how you reach your goal. It can be easy to look at this game and think it's just a 90s internet simulator without much going on, beyond the surface level humor and nostalgia bait, but that couldn't be further from the truth. This alternate reality and these fictional people have so much going on beneath the surface, and they will affect you. It's a never-ending rabbit hole of all sorts of emotions, and there's really nothing quite like it. Number 2, Celeste. Sure, most of the games on this list are either artsy or relaxing, but nothing quite hits like a balls-to-the-wall mechanically intense platformer. And if Celeste ain't that, nothing is. I've already talked at length about why Celeste is such a good game, but basically the intense difficulty meshes seamlessly with a forgiving retry system that never feels discouraging and roots for your improvement. The journey up Celeste Mountain is a tough one, but experiencing your own mechanical progress is a real achievement, and you'll impress yourself with just how far you've come. On top of that, Celeste tackles important psychological issues in a respectful way that integrates with the story without ever feeling overbearing. It is, admittedly, not for everyone. Despite all the accessibility options available, I think the game loses something if the struggle to improve isn't something you enjoy. But if you at all enjoy platformers, or even just games to test your limits, this is the game for you. Number 1, Hollow Knight. Come on, as if number 1 was going to be literally anything else. Hollow Knight is the reason I have 10,000 subs in the first place. I owe this game a lot. If you're watching this, you've no doubt played and loved Hollow Knight yourself, so I'm kinda preaching to the choir here, but if you're here and you haven't played this game, there is nothing I can say at this point that will drive the point home further. This is my favorite game of all time. It has exploration, it has lore, it has fun movement, it has intense combat, the visuals are beautiful, the music constantly evocative, the world is awe-inspiring. Hollow Knight isn't the perfect game, but anything that claims to be is lying. Team Cherry has done so much right here that any gripes I have pale in comparison to the greater whole that is this game. It can be tough, and as is true with pretty much every difficult game, you'll get out what you put in. But every bit of effort is rewarded, and I know that stands true for me. So you should play this game. It might not be your favorite game of all time, like it is for me, but if you have even a passing interest in Metroidvanias, I find it hard to believe you won't get your money and time's worth out of it. But that's all I've got, so thank you again for all your support over the past 12 years, and here's to many more, y'all. Have a good one.